Okay, welcome back, folks. Part two of our interview with Paul Prine. I'm Rob Morris with NPR News That Matters. Paul, you're running for sheriff. What are you going to do differently than what's being done now at the sheriff's department?
That's a great question. I don't know if we have a whole lot of time, but you can follow us on Prine for Sheriff on Facebook and certainly Prime Time on YouTube, and you'll see everything that we're doing. But in a nutshell, I have made a promise or a commitment. I call it the contract with Mobile County citizens. And there's a host of things. But what would I do different? Well, one, I'd balance the budget. There's been a lot of issues with the current administration not balancing the budget every year. And of course, Prine always gives receipts. You can go to the Mobile County Commission website, see the money that's allocated certainly to public safety. There's also a new memo in there that talks about overspending money, and sometimes that's a big deal, right? Because you're talking about millions of dollars. I would essentially also ensure that we are doing monthly meetings throughout the county to meet with the citizens. They don't currently do it. They've not done it. And that was one of the most effective things we did in the city of Mobile. And while there are apples and oranges, in two agencies and certainly the demographics, I think it's important to meet with the constituents to be able to update, keep them informed, and make sure that we have a great working relationship to resolve those issues in the community. I also think that it's important to talk about the differences or in the philosophies of it is we have deputies driving 8-9-year-old cars with 180 200,000 miles on them. And so I do know that there are some new cars sitting in a warehouse, but apparently there's no funding to get those cars outfitted to use in patrol, and they're having to do a one a month, or at least I'm told. But irrespective if it's one a month, two a month, that's just really not sufficient. We had a well-oiled machine at Mobile, and of course we would buy 50 to 70 cars a year. And so when we received those cars, we would do 5 to 10 cars a week. And
Wow.
but that's having the right people in the right places to be able to do the job that they know they need to do. I'll tell you something else that's kind of near and dear to me, Rob, is when there's an unfortunate incident where there's loss of life, either in the community from a citizen or at the hands of police for whatever reason, justified or not, or vice versa, if a deputy's involved, and has the unfortunate incident of losing their life, I don't believe agencies are to be investigating themselves. And so my philosophy is to work, have a MOU or memorandum of understanding with the state police and have them to come in and conduct the investigation. The criminal side, there's essentially two parts of an investigation with something like that. And that's the criminal investigation, determine any wrongdoing on either party side, the deputies or the citizen, and let them work directly with the district attorney's office to determine whether or not the officer is culpable or not culpable.
Okay.
And then also, then of course, the sheriff's office can continue to do the other second part investigation. That's determine whether or not the deputy violated any administrative policy violations. Okay.
Okay.
But those are one of the things that I think are near and dear to the public. There's already a big mistrust with law enforcement. And if we don't make ourselves vulnerable, if we don't make ourselves transparent to the public, we will never really build that bridge to transparency. And I tried to do that at the city. Unfortunately, we were not able to do it. But those are just a few things that I would do certainly different than the current administration.
What about what's going on in Metro Jail?
Well, we have a lot of correction officers over there. It seems that a lot of them are unhappy, and sometimes rightfully so. Sometimes it may be their perspective or opinion. But there just seems to be a lot of discontent, certainly with working conditions. I mean, can you imagine having to work in there 8, 10, 12 hours a day? You're essentially trying to take care of people that essentially have nothing to lose. So unlike deputies in the field that have to deal with the situation, drop them off at the jail, or leave that scenario, they can go on about the rest of their day. We have to do whatever we can to make life conducive in an environment that is typically hostile and adversarial. And the only way to really do that is you've got to be able to determine that the jail is operating with the best practices of the industry, and making sure that you have a warden and a deputy warden and certainly a staff in there that's going to support the entire staff and make sure that everybody being treated fair and equitable across the board.
Speaking about the staff and all, what's going to happen differently at the sheriff's office itself?
Well, that's a good question. So you have Metro Jail, and then you have the Sheriff's Department, essentially. Of course, with any change, there will be staff level changes at the very top, because you have to make sure that you do have the right people in place that's going to carry out the mission.
Right.
And I know it was one of the things that we were going to talk about, but as far as what I would do different, well, the crime data. A lot of people say, well, the incumbent's always going to be hard to beat. And Rob, that is a very true statement. They get all the money, all the TV time, they get as much as they want to use under the pretense of doing their job, but it's really campaigning, right? And there's a blurred line there. But however, it's my responsibility to tell just how we do that. And one example of something that I would do different than the current administration, and listen, I can't just blame that on the current sheriff. I don't know that the sheriff's office has ever put out an annual crime report.
Is that right?
Yes, and that's problematic, because there's just a couple of type people. You got the politicos in society, you got the average everyday citizen that's here, right, and then the business people. Well, some of the business people could be a part of the politicos and vice versa, but then the average everyday citizen that doesn't really know what's going on other than what they see on TV, it's my job to say how I would do it better. And how do we know if the current sheriff is doing a great job if we don't know what the data is? I'm a data guy. It doesn't tell the whole story, but if we don't know how many crimes have been committed year after year after year, then we really don't know
if you're doing a good job.
If you're doing a good job, it's essentially a report card, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then we talked about the budget earlier, but those things go hand in hand. How much money are we spending? Do we have adequate staffing with deputies? There are several hundred. I'll give you an example. The sheriff's office is typically a third of the size of the Mobile Police Department sworn officers. So Mobile PD has essentially 500 officers. Roughly speaking, and I believe the sheriff's office somewhere went around 180, 190.
Really? Why is that? I mean, the county's bigger than the city.
Well, the
right?
county, geographically speaking, yes. And now, if you look at the makeup of the city of Mobile versus the county, well, you have more population in the city. I just don't think we have adequate coverage in the county. If it's taking deputies 30, 40, 50 minutes, sometimes an hour for response times, and that's what I'm hearing out there, especially with the volunteer firemen and the paramedics that are responding in these areas, that's the difference of life and death. And many times officers are the first one on the scenes, and if they can't give life-saving measures or things like CPR, first aid, it could certainly be detriment to the person that is needing that first aid or needing that response immediately at that time.
So the sheriff deputies do have a little bit of training in CPR and first aid and emergency
well,
situations.
They should, and but a lot of times they're the first one on the scenes, and most good officers or deputies will do everything they can to ensure that they save a life, if they can save the life, until emergency personnel can get there, and that can be problematic. I would argue we probably need somewhere, if we have 180, 190 deputies, we probably need somewhere around 250.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you make sure that the budget's there to pay for those guys.
Well, the budget has increased.
Guys and gals.
Yeah, that's right. And we need women in law enforcement. So when I become Mobile County Sheriff, we'll be certainly highly recruiting women as well. We need those as a primary function in the business. But yeah, I do believe there's a better way to do things. The old way is the status quo, and it continues to be the status quo. And I think it's just time for fresh blood. And nobody reduced crime better than I did. 65% reduction in homicides, 45% reduction in assaults, sexual assaults, virtually double digits down virtually in every category of crime. Wow. The city of Mobile realized a significant, largest single year crime reduction in 2023 since 1988, otherwise a 38 year low in crime. Now, you wouldn't know that. We didn't have time to talk about perception of crime, which affects real crime data. But at the end of the day, we did it better than it's ever been done, and I'm fairly confident we'll take the Mobile County Sheriff's Department, Metro Jail, and the county to a whole nother level.
Okay, well, full disclosure here, folks. To be fair, I have reached out to Sheriff Burtz to come in the studio for an interview several times and have not heard back from him. So I called Paul up to see if he would come in. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us.
Listen, brother, we love you. We like you. We like what you're doing out there, and keep rocking and rolling, man.
Well, thank you so much for that. That was very kind words. And good luck on your campaign.
You bet. Thank you. Take care.
Everyone, thank you for watching. I'm Rob Morris with NPR News That Matters.
Mobile Pirate Radio.